people who have requested this reground have expressed concern about the possibility that machines were hacked. Have you seen anything to justify that concern?
No.
Jill Stein actually said on Friday on CNN she had questions about certain voting machines in certain counties in Wisconsin. She didn't say specifically. Do you know what she's talking about? She said, quote, some of the voting machines in use in Wisconsin, for example, have actually been prohibited in the state of California because they've basically been proven to be wide open tampering, she said on CNN.
No, we're not aware of what equipment she might be referring to as far as equipment that has been prohibited from use in California. The process in Wisconsin is that the equipment is tested at the federal level and certified at the federal level for technical standards, how the equipment works, security standards. Then if a manufacturer wants to sell equipment to municipal clerks in Wisconsin, our agency tests the equipment again to make sure it complies with our statutes and how votes are tabulated, and then it is approved by the commission or by the Government Accountability Board previously. And then before each election, the voting equipment needs to be tested by the municipal clerk within 10 days of the election. That's a public test. Anybody is welcome to come and see that the ballots that are run through the equipment are being tabulated correctly. Then the equipment is secured, the programming is secured until election day. Election inspectors at the beginning of the day need to go through a protocol to make sure that the software is showing 0 votes at the beginning of the day. They need to make sure it's secured throughout the day. So we've said many times that there are a number of reasons why we are skeptical of any claims that voting equipment is either not working correctly or being tampered with in the state of Wisconsin. Among those reasons are it is not connected to the internet. We have a number of different systems in place in the state. We have a very decentralized system, and an individual would need to have unfettered physical access to voting equipment and to be able to enter the locked cabinet where the software, the memory device is located. And to do that once and be detected is hard to believe it could happen. To do that throughout the state with a variety of different equipment, it seems very unlikely.
So just elaborate on that a little bit, Mike. I think there's been an assumption that someone through the internet or through some other electronic connection could access voting machines and reprogram or repurpose them. But again, we have about 1,800 municipalities in the state, correct? Are you saying that over a significant number of those municipalities, people would have to physically access the voting machines and reprogram them?
Right, because if it's not connected to the internet, in theory, you cannot tamper with it over the internet. I'll let Ross chime in if he has anything else to add.
I really don't. I mean, it's as simple as in order to access the equipment, you would actually have to get your hands on it. And our security protocols ensure that at the municipal level that all that equipment is under lock and key with authorization limited to only personnel within that office. And there's processes where tamper evidence seals are put on the equipment immediately after the public test. That's verified before the polls open, and again after the polls close. And in Wisconsin, for any of the touchscreen voting systems that are used, state law requires that we have what's called a voter verified paper audit trail, and that's the official ballot, and that's what will be used for the recount throughout the state.
And we might as well, I guess, address the claim or the theories that equipment has programming in it that is automatically triggered on election day. Again, the people who program the equipment are either the county clerks or the equipment vendors who are authorized to program the equipment. So you need to believe that those individuals are either intentionally or unintentionally installing some malware that is going to be triggered on election day and not be detected through any other process that we've described.
Just to elaborate on one last thing, in many cases these machines are quite old, correct? I mean, which is another issue entirely, but I mean, in certain cases the vendor would have sold it to us many years ago, right?
Correct, yes.
Many of these systems were required as part of the 2002 Help America Vote Act, and so in many of the rural locations, these touchscreen systems were purchased to provide accessibility to individuals with disabilities. And these are jurisdictions that have historically always hand-counted paper ballots, and many of these same locations, even though they now have touchscreen voting systems, will still have had voters vote using paper ballots. And so when the recount will tabulate both ballots that were counted by hand and then also ballots that were tabulated by the electronic voting equipment.
So someone would have to tamper with each machine. There would be no way to access multiple voting machines to tamper or alter the vote count.
None that we are aware of.